Fruit production in Croatia's Neretva Valley is big business. Around 90% of the people in this region are involved in the fruit industry, producing over 70,000 tons of the main crop, the mandarin, for domestic and international markets every year. But there's a problem: the Mediterranean fruit fly. The pest lays its eggs in fruit, and when the larvae develop, they start to feed, damaging the pulp and the livelihoods of the farmers and exporters.
The Mediterranean fruit fly is a pest of the huge economic importance for this area. The reason of this is because the Neretva Valley is producing over 90% of the mandarins of the Croatia, and from this total production, more than 70% is exported to the countries which don't accept the residues of the pesticides on the fruit, but also because of the quarantine reason, don't allow to import infected fruits.
Around a third of the fruit is currently being destroyed by the flies, so Croatia needs to find a way to produce pest-free fruit without the use of insecticide. It's doing this in cooperation with the IAEA, using the Sterile Insect Technique, known as SIT. This method works by using radiation to sterilize male flies that are produced in mass rearing facilities. In Croatia, the flies arrive from Spain as irradiated pupae, and several days later emerge as adult flies. They're released into the wild, where they breed with females who in turn produce no offspring. The wild fly population is suppressed.
We still don't have the complete data, but what we have seen in cooperation with Croatian Center for Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs is that the percentage of fruit flies in the areas treated in comparison to the untreated areas differs significantly. That gives us the right to assume that with a larger, more structured use of this technique, we could realize significant results.
The positive results of the project can be seen by trapping flies in the release areas to see if the sterile flies are outnumbering their wild counterparts. This is done using ultraviolet light to identify the wild from the sterile flies, which are marked with a special dye prior to release. Fruits from the SIT areas and from those not involved in the project are screened and compared for levels of infestation. To check whether sterile males can compete with their fertile counterparts, flies are observed while mating in field cages. And the farmers are content with the results of the IAEA project.
Ja mislim da je SIT tehnika jedno
I think SIT is the only long-term answer. It might seem expensive at the start, but if you explain it to the farmers, they would gladly accept it, even cover part of the costs. I think it would be better if the Ministry of Agriculture would get involved and coordinate with distribution centers and exporters. Me as a producer, I'm naturally interested in a healthy product, one without fruit fly and one without pesticides, so the fruit can be sold anywhere in Europe.
Zdrav plod, da nema ceratitisa, a da imam plod u koji nema pesticida, da se može izvoziti po cijeloj Europi I to je to, jel?
The Mediterranean fruit fly is not just a Croatian problem. The fly is one of the world's most destructive pests and can be found in fruit-growing regions all over the world. Croatia is planning to increase its mandarin production to around 150,000 tons in the next few years. Since only 10% is needed for the domestic market, that's a lot of fruit to sell elsewhere. If the Sterile Insect project continues to be a success, this will mean less fly damage, a healthier product for the consumer, and a brighter economic future for the people in this region.